You're next. I'm next. Who's next? Everybody's next,
Yep.
especially Gunther. Gunther is next because Bill Goldberg has returned. Welcome, everyone, to the 716 Sports Entertainment Podcast episode number. Is this episode number 27? Holy smokes, we've made a lot of these damn things. But welcome to the podcast, guys. We're going to review Monday Night Raw tonight, and it was a busy one as we had the returning Bill Goldberg and a bunch of other newsworthy things that happened on the show. So, as always, I am Mike with the 716 Sports Entertainment, joined by Mr. Sean O'Neill. And Sean, let's break it down. Let's get right into the, kind of the big talking point. Then we'll go back to the beginning here. So, about halfway through the first hour of the show, there was a quick backstage segment with the Judgment Day that kind of continued to build tension with the group. And then Gunther came to the ring to celebrate winning the World Heavyweight Championship from Jey Uso last week. And, Gunther made comments that Jey was the better man at WrestleMania, but every other night of the year, Gunther is untouchable, and kind of initially tried to lead into what was next for the ring general. And he went, the crowd started chanting Goldberg because we all kind of knew it was coming. But he initially went into Seth Rollins a little bit. It was kind of like, you know where I am, buddy. Come and find me whenever you want. I'll be ready for you. To which, Goldberg's music hit and Goldberg came out of the ring. Basically didn't say much of anything other than challenging him to a match for Saturday night's main event in his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia on July the 12th. So this is kind of the big talking point for the show. But overall, what did you think of the segment? And to no one's surprise, Bill Goldberg returning.
So, I mean, it kind of surprised me talking about Seth because I'm still of the mind that Seth isn't going to cash in on Gunther. Even with attempting to beat him down, I think Gunther is too strong of an opponent to be cashed in on. I think that Seth cashes in on if Jay ends up winning it back or Sammy wins it back on one of those two. Um, but then for the worst kept secret of the last 2 months of WWE, Big Bad Billy G, making his way down to the ring, being out of breath by the time he got to the ring. Um,
He was so gassed. He was so
he
gassed.
was he was incredibly gassed. And honestly, I said it in our chat yesterday. I was God's honest shocked that he was able to get through that whole segment without like gasping for breath and needing oxygen in the ring because he talked for a little while there. I mean, the problem is we all know how awesome and intimidating Bill Goldberg was. His matches were a spectacle, I think. They were never any not meant to be like technical or anything. You watched a Bill Goldberg match to watch him destroy somebody in 3 minutes. And as he's gotten older and all the shenanigans he's gotten up to in his last few matches, you can tell that he's not the same as he was, and that's just due to age. And I know we said that Gunther can wrestle a burlap bag and get a 5-star match out of it, but I don't predict this being longer than 5 minutes, and I don't know what they're going to do with it. Because honestly, I'm kind of scared that WWE is going to give him the title.
Well, do we know if it's a retirement match or not? It sounds like it's a retirement
No,
match.
they haven't officially called it a retirement match yet. I have a feeling next week that, or over the next couple weeks, you're going to say, Gunther say, well, if I'm putting up my title, you're going to put up your career or something along those lines.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still am of the mind that Gunther is going to beat him
He needs
handily.
to.
Because I mean, like, Goldberg came out and did the same thing to Bobby Lashley and lost. He did the same thing to Roman Reigns and lost. So I am of the mind Gunther will beat him on to his next thing. One can hope that that's not where Seth Rollins cashes in, which I doubt they would let him do that at a Saturday night's main event. But, never know.
The the last time that Bill Goldberg was semi-relevant was when they did that BS with the Fiend
I forgot about that. He
and
beat
ruined
he
Fiend's
beat him for
momentum.
the didn't he beat
Yeah,
him for the title there? Yeah,
yep, right before WrestleMania.
for when that was. That was like right at the height of no, that was when the Fiend was the champion, right?
Yeah,
The Fiend won the title at Saudi Arabia from Seth Rollins
and
in the
held it for some.
in the summer. No, I think Goldberg beat him.
Don't forget, Bray won the title back at Elimination Chamber that one year.
I don't remember this. I have to go back
Yeah,
and look.
he
I
Bray,
thought it was
Bray ended up winning the title back, and it was it was like a month or two after Bray had won the title back.
Who did Goldberg drop the title to? Was it Brock?
I think so. I believe that it was Goldberg versus Brock 2 or 3.
Um, so I don't know. Any more thoughts on Goldberg?
Um, I mean, the only person who's talked about it being a retirement match is him. So I have to imagine that it probably is if it's him saying it. But we all know how retirement works in the wrestling industry. Next week he could show up on AEW. So
So the show proper opened up with Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio making their way to the ring. Liv talked about Nikki Bella, kind of talked trash about her, and then she kind of called out Io Sky, demanding her rematch, which I didn't know rematches were a thing in WWE anymore,
they're
but
not.
she demanded her rematch, which brought out Io, who, as I recalled, Io hasn't had a match since WrestleMania. Is that right?
Um, she
That
had that
sounds
tag
right.
team match.
Was she? I don't remember this. I thought that was
Remember?
before WrestleMania.
No, she
She hasn't
teamed
defended her title since WrestleMania.
right, but she teamed with Rhea to face Julia and Roxanne.
That's that's right. That's right. Um, this was kind of a cookie cutter segment. It didn't really do much of anything, obviously. And, given the news a little bit later in the show, which I guess we're just going to be bouncing around now because we might as well just get to it. Liv Morgan, a bit later in the show, had a match with Kairi Sane and appeared to, on kind of like a freak thing, definitely not
Yep.
Kairi's fault. Um, Injured her shoulder. It looked like she came down weird on her shoulder. Like she went down with her, tried to catch herself with her hands, and it looked like her shoulder bent funny. Um, so she might be out of action for a while. So we can kind of skip sort of the nothing segment that this was, but I guess the larger picture is I hope Liv Morgan's okay and can come back. I mean, if it's just a separated shoulder, that's not a big deal. But,
So my thoughts are that first opening segment was kind of goofy because how do you come out and demand a title match when you haven't been a title rematch when you haven't been the champion in like 8 months? Made like zero sense to me. The highlight of it was just her getting kicked in the face by Io, I think. But the during the match with Kyrie, I mean it did spare us the Nikki Bella run in that was probably going to happen.
yeah.
But I Kyrie went to take her down on just a normal takedown, and it ended up dislocating Liv's shoulder, was confirmed. And I was looking into that, and they were saying that it could take up to 16 weeks to heal,
Right.
depending on the severity of it. And they haven't announced. Could be anywhere between like 3 to 16 weeks.
I mean, 3 weeks is the Evolution show. Hopefully, she could be back for that to have that match with Nikki Bella because that would, as much as I don't much care for Nikki Bella, that would be a really a big moment for Liv. Like to because I think we all kind of assumed she would win.
Yeah.
Unless the tag team belts were on the line, I could see them putting them on the Bellas like temporarily, which might end up happening now because they might have to call an audible. But I think it would be a big moment for Liv to kind of get a win over a legend like that. So,
Oh,
and I'm sure
sure.
the crowd would be behind that. So,
It would be, I mean, a lot of these women have all had a chance, these bigger name women have had a chance to beat a legend in the past. And I don't think Liv has had that opportunity yet.
one thing I will say I wanted to point out, like throughout this show, and no disrespect to McAfee, but Corey Graves and Michael Cole work so much better together, in my opinion.
I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like this was a reward to Corey Graves for how well he did at the Worlds Collide show.
Mhm.
I think that his talents are being wasted down in NXT. He should be on one of the main shows. Problem is I don't know where you'd put him because like I really enjoy the Cole McAfee dynamic just because McAfee is such a goofy bastard. Um, but Corey Graves really is a fantastic color commentator, and I really wish that they would utilize him on one of the bigger shows.
I like that he's a heel commentator, kind of like how I like Wade Barrett is a heel
Yep.
commentator. But like you kind of need that dynamic a little bit.
Both of them have been doing fantastic work. When Wade covered for McAfee last week, it was fantastic too.
I really like Wade. I like Wade a lot. I think that that's a great addition to have him in the chair. Um, so the women's division kicked off with its final Queen of the Ring tournament. And we had Ivy Nile, Raquel Rodriguez, Stephanie Vaquer, and a returning Asuka, which I really wish they would have left this as a mystery spot. I think it would have been like, because they kind of did that with the men's one, even though they announced it in the previous week that it was going to be Jey Uso. But I think this would have been a really big pop if they had announced this as a mystery, or, like they didn't announce who the fourth person was going to be. Just a little nitpick there, I think. But overall, this match was awesome. Asuka looked like she hasn't missed a beat. In the beginning, Asuka and Stephanie formed kind of a temporary alliance to sort of take out Raquel and Ivy Nile. There were multiple like breaks,
Yeah.
during this. So like, where I have Netflix with
Yeah.
commercials.
Really?
So where the where there were two instances of commercial breaks through this one. But for most of this match, it really seemed like they gave Stephanie McCurr kind of, the focus for a lot of this match. She was able to hit the Devil's Kiss on both Ivy Nile and Raquel on the apron, which was cool. But then the match concluded with Raquel getting yanked out by Rhea Ripley, which put her into a riptide, got tossed back into the ring, and then Asuka hit her with the running hip strike for the win. What did you think of the match, and what did you think of Asuka picking up the win?
So first off, you really got to upgrade to the commercial free one because you are missing out. During those commercial breaks, they actually made Ivy Nile look pretty good. She had quite a few spots there where she was allowed to showcase how much better she's gotten in the ring since I think working with Chad Gable. And but I'm not surprised Ripley got involved. I mean, that's what happened in the first match that Ripley was in, so I figured it was going to happen in this one. I am a little bit surprised that they gave it to Asuka. I'm happy, but I feel like the problem is going into so we have Asuka versus Bliss, and who's Roxanne facing?
Jade.
Jade. So the problem is I don't know that Asuka makes it past Alexa.
Oh, I
I
think I
mean,
think so. I think
you
so.
think so? And you think she loses to Jade?
If we're assuming Jade is going to win the whole thing, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Asuka
we'll
versus
eventually.
Asuka versus Io is very interesting for the title.
Yeah, I think that would be a very fun match, and I think that it would be nice for them to reward Asuka after everything that she's had to put up with this company, with finally being given a title match and maybe a meaningful title run.
Mhm.
I mean, they ruined her 900-day undefeated streak, and then her title runs were kind of blah. Um, I think that she deserves a chance to run with the big title. I mean, look at what they've done with EO. She has looked pretty good as champ for the most part. But I mean, Oscar versus Bliss is going to be a fantastic match. Um, just like I mean, Jade and Roxanne, it's going to be fun because it's two contrasting styles. I think that both the women and the men's King and Queen of the Rings have semifinals have a lot of potential.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we get to the end of the show because I kind of want to talk about where we go with the brackets now that they're kind of finalized. But let's get through the rest of the show first. So we had JD McDonough take on AJ Styles in a singles match. This was fine. JD, I mean, JD's a good wrestler. The match was preceded by Dominic telling Finn to stay backstage until the job was done. Finn agreed. But obviously did end up coming out a little bit later towards the end of the match. I really am glad that one thing I did notice with this, maybe did you notice this, but WWE went back to AJ Styles' old theme music, which was
I
good
thought so.
when he did his entrance. I liked that a little bit. I like it so much better than the crap that they had him using before. But the Styles Clash is just such a cool move. He and like
Yep.
AJ just does it the best. But AJ obviously picked up the win. And then the Judgment Day goons trying to, save McDonough towards the end of the match there, but to no avail. And AJ is going to get an Intercontinental title match at Night of Champions against the Dirty One. So I guess just quickly, what did you think of the match? But more importantly, do you think AJ is going to win the IC strap?
So it always amazes me, considering that AJ's getting older, how incredibly smooth everything he does in the ring looks good. That one point where he threw McDonough into the calf crusher was just one of the smoothest things I've ever seen. And then like the Styles Clash is just such a beautiful move. Um, I, I absolutely love the fact that they are constantly making fun of how big of a head JD McDonough has. I think that's absolutely hysterical, and I want them to keep doing it. Um, but I do. I think Styles takes the title off of Dom, and I think it's because of Finn. I think this is finally where we see. I mean, we saw it in the backstage segment, the incredible passive aggressiveness from Finn throughout that we've been seeing for the last couple weeks now. I mean, hell, even months, where he's been just super like dickish to Dom, but still sort of like trying to be friendly about it. And I
Yeah.
think with Finn, we finally get our. I don't know if it'll be a turn, but it'll definitely be a betrayal.
Yeah, it definitely seems like something is going on there. So it will be very interesting to see, when we get to that PLE, like what they end up doing with that. But I really do hope it's my rooting interest is that the belt goes to AJ Styles because it was, it was a good moment to put it on Dom. Dom's not really doing a great job defending it. Like Dom's an okay wrestler, but Dom is more of a comedy character. And I want the IC title to be on AJ Styles, to be on Finn Balor, to be on people who are going to have awesome matches all of the time. Like that's what the IC title is supposed to be all about.
I mean, hell, even when the IC title was on The Miz, it was a little bit more prestigious.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Miz had a couple of great matches when he had that belt. He had that one ladder match at WrestleMania with what was it, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and somebody else was in that match, and it's escaping me. But it was the best match of WrestleMania when they had that ladder match for that title. It was awesome.
Yep.
Bailey came out to the ring to cut a promo on, how she's doing, what she does, and how she's doing everything for the fans, not for titles or accolades. She made mention of Becky taking her out before WrestleMania, which only made her stronger. And then, obviously Becky made her march down to the ring wearing Chicago Bears gear in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which was kind of cool. She got booed hard for that. And Lynch, had a few jabs at Bailey as well. Becky's definitely coming into her own with this heel role. Like the more promo she cuts as a heel, the better. She's kind of I think the more natural it is becoming for her. But she did agree to defend the IC title against Bailey before kind of trying to take a swing at her. She missed, and Bailey knocked her down and out of the ring. So there is going to be a match next week on Raw for the women's IC strap between Bailey and Becky Lynch. And then a bit later in the show, Bailey and Lyra kind of caught up backstage as well. And Lyra was like, "Oh, it's good to have you back," and was kind of sassy about it. Bailey was like, "I didn't get a chance to tell you, blah, 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 blah." So I would imagine that at the women's PLE, this is probably going to be a triple threat for that title because you
Yep.
got to think that Lyra will get her rematch at some point or some shenanigans is going to happen and Becky will likely retain next week, but either that. But anyway, great to see Bailey back. She looks like $1 million, and I've said it on this channel numerous times. Bailey is one of my favorites.
The promo that she cut was absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the best promos that she's ever cut. The assets that she brings to the women's division are like beyond words. Like she's one of the best women's wrestlers that they have. Everything she does is smooth in the ring. Her look is fantastic, especially with coming back. And I think that Monday ends in some sort of shenanigans with Lyra probably coming out and maybe a distraction unintentionally or something, and we get either at Night of Champions or hell, we could even get it at Saturday night. Um, I mean, I'm expecting it to be defended a bunch over the next couple weeks because
I
they
don't
have
think you're
what
going to get
they have
any
three
women's
major
matches.
shows. My point though is they have three major shows in the span
True.
of 2 weeks, and I feel like it'll probably be defended twice in there.
Yeah. I have a feeling with the women's show on that Sunday, I think it's very unlikely you get any women's matches the previous day. I think just because they're going to struggle to fill that card with matches a little bit.
Yeah,
So, but you never know. I mean, you could I got to imagine like, looking at that Evolution show, you will probably have both women's titles defended. You will probably have that will probably be where Julia fights Zelina for that US title. But yeah, maybe be some kind of
if
triple threat makes a lot of sense as well.
if I'm fantasy booking that women's show, every women's title is defended there, including the NXT one.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then you have your side matches. But I mean, it's going to be weird now, especially if Liv is out. Maybe they'll do like a multi-team match for the tag titles. But I personally think that every women's belt should be defended there. Maybe bring in, actually, here's a thought. Maybe bring in a couple TNA talents.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately depends on how many matches they're going to put on that card. But if the one that they did previously was anything to go by, I think they had eight the previous one.
I mean,
So,
WWE really doesn't do that many matches anymore. They
yeah,
usually do what, 5 to 7.
yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. This will obviously be treated a bit different than other shows. So, but yeah, we'll never know. So we talked about the Liv Morgan thing already, and then obviously we get into the main event. This week's main event was the final quarterfinal for the King of the Ring tournament between Jey Uso, Rusev, Sheamus, and Bronson Reed. So the match kind of opened up where Rusev and Jey Uso went at each other while Sheamus and Bronson Reed kind of fought each other ringside. Jay was really giving up a lot to Rusev in the beginning and really kind of was selling his injury. So it really, helped Rusev look great. Rusev looked like $1 million. And then eventually
All four.
yeah, they really did. We eventually got a moment between Sheamus and Rusev in the ring, which, that's obviously going to lead. There's going to be a program between the two of them. Um, but yeah, Rusev, he run wild for a while in that match and really, really looked great. Jay obviously really did his best to kind of stay competitive. All four of the guys really just made this the match of the night, in my opinion. And then as far as the end of the match, Braun Breaker showed up eventually to prevent Jey Uso from hitting the splash on Bronson Reed. But then Sami Zayn and Penta showed up to fight him, which LA Knight then also came out and knocked Bronson Reed off the top rope, which allowed Uso to hit him for two big splashes for the win. And then after the match was over, Seth Rollins' music hit. He came down and then he was immediately about to hit the stomp on Jey Uso when Cody came down to make the save. This ending sequence was nuts. It's just
I,
absolutely nuts.
it gave me all elite vibes with the amount of interference in it. It was ridiculous. Like outside of WrestleMania, when's the last time we saw this much interference to end a Monday Night Raw? Um, I mean, all four men, like I said, and you said, looked fantastic. Even Bronson Reed, who, I mean, he's grown on me since he came back, especially now with being part of Seth's group where he doesn't really have to talk. Um, but like his matches with Braun were awesome, and I think this is exactly the kind of role he needs to be in to get over. Um, and that part where Sheamus and Rusev were going at it in the ring, and Bronson tried to interfere. They basically pushed Bronson away so that they could keep going at it with each other, and were literally ignoring everybody else. And Bronson was kind of just standing there like, "What do I do?" was pretty funny. But I'm glad to see, honestly, including the end of the match interference with Seth and Cody. You've talked about this before, where they're kind of building a universe. This is what that felt like with the sheer amount of people gravitating into this with your LA Knight, your Sammy, your Jay, um, now
Penta.
Penta. like Ian and Cody, all like getting sucked into the Rollins gravitational field here. Yeah, I think that's going to be good for all of them.
Yeah. I feel like, and I said this in our group chat, I kind of think that they're doing this for a reason because you need something for all of these people to do when you get to SummerSlam, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't, not every one of these guys is going to have the title, right? Like it's very likely that Cody and Cena will square up for the title, and maybe Rollins cashes in there, maybe he doesn't, right? But regardless, all of these other guys, LA Knight, Seth Rollins and his whole group, Penta, Sami Zayn, unless Sami Zayn is challenging Gunther, all of these guys, they will need to have matches at WrestleMania, right? I mean, how fun would a Seth Rollins and his gang versus like some combination of Cody, Jey Uso, Penta, Sami Zayn, and LA Knight? Assuming two of those guys are off, like challenging for titles, but the other three, right? Like, how
Yeah.
fun would that 3-on-3 match be? I think it would be awesome. It would be Jay. Assuming we'll say Sammy and Cody are challenging for titles. You got Jay, LA Knight, and Penta versus Seth Rollins group. What a fun match that would be.
Oh yeah. Not just that though, too. You in for the next 2 months leading up to SummerSlam, you have a ton of different dream matches you can basically have because of all these people who are now involved. I mean, you can have Penta versus Rollins. Like I mean, that's a marquee level match.
Be a fun match.
I mean, Terrence would be like losing himself for a match like that. Um, and it leaves Triple H and WWE so many options for the next little while in storytelling. And that's not even getting into the quarterfinals now of the King of the Ring tournament, where we have Cody now versus Jay, which that alone is so storyline worthy. But then you have Sammy and Orton on the other side. I mean, the implications of any of these four, the combinations for the finals for the men's King of the Ring is going to be incredible.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So, what do you think about? Let's talk about the men's side first. Um, Sammy versus Randy. Let's talk about that one first. So, what do you think happens there?
So I'm having a real tough time with trying to predict this because you have two real good finals that could happen. You could have Sammy versus Jay, which with their brotherhood from the bloodline, or you could have Orton versus Cody. And I think both of those matches are moneymakers. The problem is, I think, like, as much as I want it to be Sammy, so that my fantasy booking of Sammy winning over Gunther and then Rollins cashing in comes true, um, I just I have a hard time not seeing it be Cody versus Randy, simply because how does Cody get to SummerSlam otherwise?
Yeah.
I have to imagine though that for whichever show doesn't win King of the Ring, they're going to have a tournament or something to determine a number one contender. So I guess whoever doesn't win there can win that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be pretty easy to get to Cody versus Cena again without Cody winning King of the Ring. Like
You
I
think it's
kind
easier?
of I think Cody could demand a rematch, right?
Okay.
Like Cody's a big enough star with which to demand a rematch. But if you're gonna do something, if you're gonna throw a curveball and have, say, Sami Zayn win, boy, that would be a lot of fun. And how else are you gonna get Sami Zayn in the title picture without him
Yeah.
winning something like this? You're not. So, and I think that's a lot of fun, right? But yeah, because I think like both of those guys, like it's going to tell you who is going to win the other match based on who wins the first match. So I think this Friday is Sammy and Randy. If Sammy wins, it is very likely Jey Uso is going to win,
Yeah.
and you will have some kind of nonsense. Cena will cost Cody, right? Which will actually helps you get to Cena versus Cody in a
Yep.
sense, right? If Randy wins, Cody's probably going to win.
Yeah.
Because Jey Uso versus Randy Orton does nothing for anybody.
Out of all the combinations, that is the least enticing. Your Cena interference, think about it though. You could have Cody versus Sammy in the finals, and that's where you could see your Cena interference too. Because
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
intriguing as well.
you could be telling the story that Cena doesn't want to face Cody again, and
Yep.
Cena's going to do everything in his power to prevent Cody from, getting that title opportunity.
Even though I think that if it's Sammy versus Jay is the better story. Just like if it's Cody versus Randy is the better story. But I do like you said, like I said, I think that Jay versus Randy is the least enticing. Sammy versus Cody is fun too because of their friendship. The fact that all three out of these four guys in this finals are as good of friends as they are,
They're
is
all baby
makes
faces.
for
That's weird, right?
they're all baby faces, and three of them are on screen such good best friends. And I just want to say something real quick because I didn't mention it earlier in the show. I just want to talk about a former King of the Ring. How about that outfit Xavier Woods was wearing backstage? How
Oh,
absolutely ridiculous. The pimp
I
outfit he was wearing.
I don't think I saw that. Maybe it was during a commercial.
If you get a chance, go back and watch. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's too funny. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it's going to be very telling what happens on SmackDown this Friday to see how that men's one is going to go. Then if we hop over to the women's one, so we've got Jade versus Roxanne. I kind of feel like we're all of the mind that Jade is going to win the whole thing. Like I
I
feel
think,
like it maybe makes the most sense, but I don't really know because I think of these four women that are left, I think the least likely to win is Alexa,
yeah,
but I could see I could see Asuka winning. I could, and I kind of frankly I want Asuka to win. I don't think I mean it's hard to say. Like Jade has been in the WWE now for like a year and a half. I mean, if you're ever going to give her a title opportunity, like now is the time. But at the same time, I just don't think Jade is ready to be champion. I don't think Jade is she's a good wrestler. She's a great wrestler, but she's kind of a terrible promo. But she's also kind of baked into this feud with Naomi, right? So like if you're if you're going to get some kind of way where you get to Naomi taking the strap off of Tiffany, then Jade versus Naomi makes a lot of sense. And Bianca's kind of involved in that story too. So that's a big match for SummerSlam, right? If you get those three women in, some kind of match for the title, which maybe leads me to believe that Jade will not. Well, I guess it depends. If Naomi takes the title on, so we're not going to know if Naomi takes the title off of Tiffany between now and then. But if Naomi does take the title off of Tiffany, Jade is like obviously 1000% winning this thing.
so for what it's worth, the reason I think Jade is going to win is also tied into Naomi, but I don't think Naomi's going to take the title off of Tiffany. I think that Jade's going to win the Queen of the Ring tournament. She's going to win the belt at SummerSlam, and Naomi's going to cash in on her at some point there. Might not
Mm.
be at SummerSlam, but at a short time after. Or I could see it being like kind of like when Randy cashed in on Daniel Bryan, where it happened that same night, and you'll see Naomi cashing on Jade, and she'll get that win back on Jade and win the title over her, and then Jade will be chasing Naomi and eventually win the belt, and then you can involve Bianca there too again. And as much as I would like to see Roxanne, Asuka, or Alexa, I'm fine with any of them winning, mainly because I'm not. I mean, yeah, like you said, Jade is a great wrestler, but promo wise, she comes across as kind of robotic. Um, I I just think that WWE's smart path is the one that we laid out here.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest match, right? Like, it makes a lot of sense going in either one of those directions. I don't love, I think it's too soon for Roxanne. Roxanne will definitely win titles in the WWE, but she hasn't been on the main roster long enough, I think, to warrant putting a belt on her yet. I mean,
Yeah,
Alexa certainly deserves it. Asuka certainly deserves it. But is that enough? I don't know. I feel like if I could book it the way I would want to book it, I would have Asuka win, and I would have Asuka versus Io at SummerSlam, and I would have Naomi cash in on Tiffany at Evolution after Tiffany has a match with Naya or something like that, because I think Tiffany's days with the belt is not are numbered.
yeah,
And then Jade and Jade and Naomi can have their match, or Jade and Naomi. I just feel like Jade, Naomi, and Bianca is such a big money match, and with it being the first two night SummerSlam, it makes a lot of sense that they do that match at SummerSlam.
yeah.
But I don't.
Asuka versus Io has a lot of intrigue to it too, because then
Us.
you could tie Kairi Sane in there as well, like get stuck in the middle between her two friends.
Or you could just have Asuka turn heel because frankly she's better as a heel anyway. Have her miss Io. That would be
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, and win the title off of Io after she missed her.
Yeah. I mean, Asuka, frankly, in my opinion, Asuka works better as a heel.
She doesn't really have to worry about speaking as much English as a heel.
It's true. He doesn't. So overall, that was Raw. Solid show. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching this show. The main event was awesome. The women's final match was awesome. It's great to see Asuka back. I really like her a lot. One of my favorites. I'm looking forward to that Bailey Becky match, and well, Goldberg. I mean, well, really, what more can you say? So, what was your rating overall, and any final thoughts?
I'd give it probably a 3.5 out of 5. It was filled with just the right amount of story and in-ring action that it made the entire episode feel like it flew by. This was one of those ones where it didn't feel like it dragged at all, which there's been more of those lately than there should have been. But these last couple Raws have and SmackDowns have been pretty good. Um, I like you said, Goldberg. I mean, we've been talking about it for what 2 months now that we knew he was coming because it was the worst kept secret in all of wrestling, and it still kind of has me blah when I think about it. I mean, it's going to be a 3 minute match, 5 minute match at most on Saturday Night Main Event. So I feel like that Saturday Night Main Event is going to have more matches than normal because of that. And having to listen to Jesse the Body Ventura talk about Goldberg is probably going to make me gouge my ears out.
Yeah, probably. One of the things I want to get into when we have Terrence on our next when we do our next Raw review, because I would assume Goldberg will probably be on Raw next week as well. I'd like to talk about and get both of your guys' opinions on um this being counter programming to AEW's Stadium Show. And I'd like to
Yeah,
go into that. I'd like to go into that a little bit to kind of get your guys' thoughts on that because it's something I've been thinking about. And I'm still trying to like work my brain around it a little bit more, but I think it's absolutely fascinating that WWE is running two big pay-per-views the same night, the same weekend as AEW's Stadium Show.
I
Um,
definitely would enjoy talking about that. I also think that we were talking about doing retrospectives about people. I kind of would like to do it about Goldberg.
yeah, that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, so that was raw. That was raw. I enjoyed it very, very much, and thank you guys so much for joining us for episode number 27 of the podcast. As always, smash that like and subscribe button. We really, really appreciate it. And yeah, guys, have yourselves a great evening and take care.